This is the Paper Chef here. In today's Brother Scan and Cut Tips and Tricks tutorial, you're going to learn how to cut out stamped sentiments into shapes, and then we're going to layer those shapes. Here's an idea of what you can create after learning this tutorial. Now, if you're here for how to cut out stamped sentiments that are in a script font, I do have another tutorial on that. Actually, I have many tutorials on that. But you're going to be able to apply what you learned to stamp sets like this one as well, where I teach you what I'm calling today the sticky note technique. And you'll be able to apply it to what you learn to sentiments such as this one that have a script font that you want to connect all the words together and get a little outer edge that kind of wraps around the sentiment. Done that many times on my channel. This tutorial, however, is not for that. This tutorial is about how to trick your scan and cut into thinking that this stamped sentiment, wishing you all of the beautiful gifts of Christmas, is one object. So that's what this tutorial is about. And stick around till the end of the video because I always show you more projects and ways to apply what you learn with this technique. So I have many more projects besides this one here to show you how to apply cutting out stamped sentiments in this way. I'm going to show you. So why am I using my ScanNCut CM350 today? Well, my STX is on timeout. It's not really working very well, but this one is going to do what the STX will do. So whatever I'm showing you can work in any model of ScanNCut you have. So follow along with whichever ScanNCut model you have. And even though the screens may look a little different, the entire technique I teach you can be applied. Okay, lastly, I want to say that this stamp set is on sale right now. Or not right now, October 20th in your time zone, wherever time zone you're in, and if you have Stampin' Up! In your country, I'm a U.S. demonstrator, so the Stampin' Up! Sale on stamps, 15% off like almost every stamp in our annual catalog that's a cling stamp set. I think every one except for host stamp sets. Cling means like rubber, cling like they cling to the stamping block. In the annual catalog, these are on sale for 15% off very soon. So October 20th at midnight, Mountain Time, in Salt Lake City, is because that's where our company's close to Salt Lake City. Now let's just do the first part of this tutorial, which is stamping the sentiment. Okay, so let's turn my camera a little bit to the table. Welcome, I see some of you popping in. I am live today, so that's cool. And I'm using a tripod, so I'm farther away. Hopefully this all works out. Now we're gonna take a piece of basic white cardstock. I'm using the regular kind, like the thin, it's not thick basic white cardstock. It is the one that you get 40 sheets in a pack of, or 24 sheets in a pack of if you use the big one. I'll link to it later. It takes me about a week to get my blog post done. I'll link to it. But you could use thick cardstock too, but there's no reason to use thick cardstock when you're going to be layering the sentiments anyway, or just using them for sentiments. I'm putting down my silicone mat. This is a silicone craft mat, just because my table is not quite even. And I'm going to lay the silicone mat under this thing when I stamp. And we're just going to go ahead and stamp a couple times. This great sentiment, my stamp's already inked up, but what I do when I stamp is I always just take a piece of scrap paper. I'm going to open up my Memento black ink and I'm going to tap, and I'm going to just stamp onto a piece of scratch paper because that makes sure that I'm like maybe right side up, that I'm not crooked, that I'm not shaking my stamp and smearing it, that the stamp has good ink coverage. So I just tend to stamp it, hold it for a few seconds, okay, and I got a good crisp image. So always use scrap paper first, not your paper that's a little bit more expensive than your scrap paper, and hold it for a few seconds. Okay, now let's do a couple of this one. Peace, love, and joy. Okay, peace, love, and joy. I've already cleaned that stamp, so I can actually change color because I did some of these in black earlier, but so this one was already black, so I was using black. So now let's use, and you're going to see why, because, in fact, I'll even give you a little teaser. If you saw yesterday on this channel around the same time, I taught you how to make these bags as part of my Giving Gifts workshop series. These are called Box in a Bag. So I made a bunch of these last night. I made probably 20 of these bags, some more. And then I thought, well, what if somebody doesn't have the tailor-made tag dies? and the things that I use. But I made this from scratch. I made this old school. We just used a trimmer and a scoreboard. So I showed you how to make these. So I was like, well, what if someone doesn't have all that? And so I made a bunch more bags, box in a bag. And then I just started making sentiments. And I thought these would go cute on there. And so would wishing you all the beautiful gifts of Christmas. I'll even show you what's inside one a little bit later. So that's your little sneak peek. That tutorial actually applies to what I'm doing right now, because I actually use that sentiment on my bags. And it's just like inside there is just either 3 Hershey Nuggets, or you can fit like a little thing of Milk Duds, which is what I've been putting in most of them. A little pack of square Milk Duds, which I always try to find at Halloween time. These also fit in there, and I was so tempted to eat these before the video. But I said, no, I got to try to fit them in the bag. All right, so here what we have. Now, the reason I use Just Jade is because we'll add it to one of the bags later. And Just Jade is a coordinating color with the Penguin Playmates Designer Series paper. Black works with everything. Either way, I want to layer these later to show you something. Now, in my typical fashion, I have a method to my madness. I have to show you the wrong way to do something before I show you the right way, because otherwise you're not even going to appreciate what I'm showing you. You're going to be like, duh, that's so easy. But if I don't show you what happens when you don't do this, the tips and tricks I'm going to teach you, you will not even understand why you even need to do this. And I don't think it's an effective way to teach. So I'm going to teach you the wrong way real quick. Not the wrong, it's not really a wrong way because there's no real wrong way, but I'm saying I'm going to teach you a way that will not work. Let's put it that way. Maybe you got your ScanNCut, you stamp some sentiments, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to cut these out. So let's just go ahead and see what happens, right? We're just going to put this on the mat and see what happens. We're going to turn on your machine. You're going to see pattern and scan. You're going to click scan. You're going to click direct cut. You're going to save it to your machine. It's asking where you want to save it. I'll go slower when I do it the right way, don't worry. And we're just going to hit scan. And we're going to see what happens when you just try to do what most people do when they get their new machine, is they just simply try to cut some stamped sentiments. Then they go, what in the world is going on? And then they put their ScanNCut back into the closet, and they get all frustrated, and they think it's not working. And they don't understand that you're the one that's not giving it enough information that it needs to know where the borders of your image is. Okay, so what happens if you do nothing? You just turn on your ScanNCut, you get it out of the box, you turn it on, you stamp some things, and you want to cut these out. Okay, let's see what happens. We're going to click, it's scanned in, we're going to click OK, right? Let's even frame. Let's just frame to the part where the white paper is. Now let me zoom in and show you what happened and why this would never work, okay? And why the ScanNCut is just doing what it's supposed to. So don't get mad at your machine. You have to give it more information. All right, so you do nothing. You just try to scan your stamped images. You're like, oh, okay. I'm going to zoom in and see what happened. Okay, I'm going to zoom in some more. I'm going to zoom in some more. Okay, or actually it only goes up to 400. Look at that hot mess of it selected all of these things separately. It selected each letter separately. It didn't even get them all because some of them were too small. All these letters, all these pieces got selected separately. Okay, it would be a complete hot mess. You'd have a bunch of shreds of paper all over the place. Okay, so you can't cut that. You can't cut that. That's a bunch of, that's a hot mess. Look, if I even go in, I'll show you how many different things are selected. Look at that. Here, let's zoom in some more. You have to see this really to understand this. Okay, you have to see, I'm selecting, see, look at that. Do you see that? Look, the letter V, the letter E, okay? I just had to get the selection to show you this. All of these little things are actually outlines of these tiny little letters trying to cut out. So that's not going to work. We can't do that. We can't work with that. So let's do what I'm going to be calling the sticky note trick. Now, it's a variation of what I've been teaching many times. I've already done the painter's tape trick. But the painter's tape trick, the problem with the painter's tape trick, what we're going to do is trick this into thinking this is just one shape, right? Instead of all those separate letters. With the painter's tape trick, if I do that, it would work too, but just use it on your clothing. So let me just show you a piece of my clothing, right? I'm just taking, here's my t-shirt. Half the time I'm in my pajamas when I'm filming, which is why I half the time don't show myself here. But okay, this is a piece, I just use it as a lint remover. If you're gonna have to use painter's tape and you don't have sticky notes, just put this on your clothes first, right? Here's that sound in my microphone, a lint remover. because you need some lint on there so that when you put this on there, it doesn't rip your paper. So you can still use the painter's tape trick I've been teaching forever. That's fine, right? But what I'm doing is cutting the sticky part off of this, by the way. But it's better to use the sticky note trick because this doesn't rip your paper. Okay, so let's go like that. See what I'm doing? I'm just going to go like that. I have many layers here, by the way. I've cut a bunch of these at once. Okay, there we go. So what we need to do is trick this into thinking. Actually, I should have used, you know what I should use? Let me do this for a second. That one has a line on it, and I don't want that line to get in our way. Let's just cut a regular plain sticky note. Not one with the line, because we don't want to confuse it. Here we go. All we need to do is cover up our sentiment. Okay? With a sticky note. You're going to cover it up, and you want to kind of make it straight, you know, so like this, or like this. Okay? And once you figure out the kind of shapes you like, of course, you could just cut out a bunch of plain shapes. Let's cover up this sentiment. We'll make that one bigger. You can cut out a bunch of plain shapes and just stamp onto them too. That's another thing I do with my ScanNCut a lot. I just cut out a bunch of shapes that are plain, and you can stamp onto them. But this one, I'm trying to teach you how to cut out a sentiment you already have stamped on your page. All right, so then we're just going to stick this there. Okay, see what I'm doing? Oh, by the way, point your sticky. You don't want these to get caught in your machine. See how these stick? Point the sticky part forward so it doesn't get caught up in your machine. If it does, I have tutorials on how to clean your scanning plates and how to get things unstuck, but still just try to use super sticky notes or like the Post-it brand so that things don't get stuck in your machine. All right, there we go. And try to only use the sticky parts. Try not to get too many little flaps, right? That little flap's probably okay, but you know, you want to just put the sticky right onto it. Now let's do the same exact thing again in slow-mo, so you can learn what's going on. We're going to go back to the beginning, and instead of this hot mess, we're going to have a successful cut. We're going to do this successfully. We're not going to get frustrated with our machine. We're going to teach it to recognize where the thing is that it needs to scan. I mean, really, if you think about it, it can scan in such small objects and it's just doing its job, right? It's scanning in such small objects, but that's a hot mess. So let's go back to the beginning. Now that we have sticky notes on our paper over the top of our sentiments, we're going to go to Pattern and Scan, and we're going to click on Scan. And that's your home screen. You always see Pattern and Scan. We're going to do Direct Cut because we're directly cutting out these stamped images. So now we're going to click on where do you want to temporarily store the information. You'll have more options on an SDX, but let's just say we want to temporarily store it to our machine. And then black and white recognition mode, that's fine. But by the way, when I tried the pink stickies, these are sort of pinkish. These didn't recognize as well as the blue stickies. So do use dark color stickies because you have more contrast between the foreground and the background for this method. Okay, now see how that is recognizing. So now, instead of recognizing a bazillion different little letters, we're going to just recognize some shapes now. Okay, so we'll click OK. And look at that. We have all these shapes. Now, they're not great shapes. They're not the shapes we want. We don't want to, obviously, we don't want to cut out. See, we don't want to, let me zoom in. We don't want to cut out some wonky shape that we just cut with our sticky note, right? We didn't cut this evenly. We just kind of cut it with our scissors. We want the ScanNCut to know where to cut. So now and it's called the shape select. So instead of select here, we're going to select the shape around the sentiment. So click here, and you have it in your STX as well. So click here, and you're going to scroll down to the one that I want to use, and it's this one. I'm going to use the last shape, and it's going to now change these little things shape around your image. Pretty cool, right? So now we have really cool sentiments around our stamped images. Now, we still have this little specks that we can get rid of over here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that, right? Oh, that was just my selection. It didn't do anything. Okay, I still have these little specks, and I can ignore them. Ignore small objects. There's a couple specks over there on the side. and it'll get rid of those. Or I can make the selection just around that object. Or I can delete those later. We can edit those out. I think I got rid of them. So now we have 4 cool shapes that we're going to, except that one, I don't know what happened there. Okay, so we have, let's just do this again. That one, do that one. That one just came out wonky. Okay, it's okay. Maybe when I put my outline around it. So now we're going to click here. Now, instead of just cutting straight along the sentiment, we need some space around it. So we want a little outline distance. We want a little outline distance of 0.04. Be sure you do this. And if you don't, it's going to cut too close to your stamped image. So let's just click OK. And we're going to go ahead and click cut. Now, before you cut, go ahead and remove these. You don't need them anymore. In fact, they might get in the way. They might get stuck in your machine, so you don't need your stickies. Don't reuse your stickies too many times because they still need, well, let's go click cut. I think I already did. And let's click start. And now we're going to cut out the stamped images in a beautiful shape. And then what I'm going to do, by the way, you could tell, I'm going to step away for a second. You can tell how loud this machine is. Sorry, dropped my microphone. I was trying to step away so it wasn't so loud on you, for you. But anyway, you can see how loud the machine is as compared to an SDX. Now, let's do this. Let's talk about what we have so far, celebrate our success, and then we're going to move on to showing you how to put the outlines on them. So let's move the machine over here. We're going to get the images off. You're just going to take the, well, that didn't, my mat's not very sticky, as you can tell. We're going to just take these images off. Click on, go ahead and click. Get these off. And we have beautiful stamped images inside of a sentiment shape. Now let's put the little outlines. Let's put this on, because this is what we're going to do next. Before I remove the last one, I kind of want to know, where does this paper go? We're going to put an outline. Maybe we're going to put this one, right there. But just make sure you put it on the area. Okay, so these are beautiful. Right? And you have lots of cool tips for your sentiments. Okay, so that's your tip and trick. Now we want to layer around these. So let's put this here. Okay, put this here. This is just jade. By the way, this is by the way the Penguin Playmates Designer Series paper. We're just going to do 2. We're going to do these 2 with that one, and then I'm going to use or maybe I'll do 3 because they look close together. I'll just go ahead and delete 1. Okay, so we need to delete 1 because they're a little close together. So what you do is we're just going to get rid of one of these. Let's go. Okay. We'll go in here to the edit mode and just click on one of these and to each other. And when I put this next outline distance around it, okay, here with the outline distance of 0.08, then I guess I have to delete it after that. Let's see if it touches. If it doesn't touch it, no, it's okay. It looks like it's okay. It's kind of touching, but it's not too much. So what I did is I put a 0.08 outline distance around it. I think that should be okay, 0.08. If it did touch, it's okay because I can cut these out in another color in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and click cut. And now what I'm doing, and I should have changed my blade depth, by the way. I forgot to change my blade depth. If you're using a ScanNCut CM and you're just cutting designer series paper, you could change your blade depth to just a 3. I went ahead and left it at a 4, but I think it should just be fine anyway. But you can change it to a 3 when cutting designer series paper. Of course, if you're using an SDX machine, you don't need to change your blade depth because your blade depth is auto blade. And of course, you don't need to change the blade depth. Auto blade does the blade depth for you. So yeah, it did kind of make a blob. So I got twinsy. Oh no, it didn't. Yay! I love it. It didn't touch. Okay, so what we have now, just so you know where we're at here, we go like this. Right? This is what we have now. Okay, we have beautiful layered images now. And here, just do one for peace, love, and joy. This is what I want to show you. I want to decorate my little bags with these. And then I could just show you. So if I wanted to change the paper color, this one is touching a little bit. So we would probably, if I wanted to go back and make a bunch of these, there's actually an easier way to make a bunch of these. But I could talk about the pros and cons of that in a minute after I say hi and after I get done the actual lesson part. So let's go. Okay. let's go back and get rid of, or let's go back and just say, yeah, 0.08. And let's go ahead and get rid of one of these in the edit mode. There's a little edit with the shapes here. When you say OK, there's a little edit mode. This is what the edit mode looks like. I can go ahead and get rid of one of these because they're kind of touching. Now I could put in, or let's see, I don't see what I'm just trying to see what else I have here. I did some with glimmer paper earlier, but this one came out fantastic in glimmer paper. I just have to change my blade depth. So we could do some in glimmer paper. We could do some in cherry cobbler. Anyway, basically, you just keep on, if you want to make a bunch of these, you just keep on putting them on your mat and just changing the paper and cutting them out to your heart's content. But there's a way to make a whole sheet of these as well. And I mean, I'm going to talk about the different ways and kind of, I'll dig a little bit deeper in a few moments. I'm trying to find the end of my painter's tape here. Because this one, you don't want to just put this glimmer paper onto your mat without, okay, that's without, first of all, it needs really thick glimmer paper like this. It's called the ombre glimmer paper. I'm going to go down, I'm going to go up to like a, I think I need a 6 or a 7 for this one. Let me feel it. Yep, 7. I'm going to go with a 7 for this really thick glimmer paper. But again, designer series paper, blade depth of 3, basic white cardstock, blade depth of 4, regular Stampin' Up! Cardstock, blade depth of 5, thick glimmer ombre paper. This is the ombre paper. I'm even holding it there. I'm afraid this will slip. This is so thick. But wait till you see this behind your sentiments. It just looks fantastic with the glitter. Okay, let's see. Let's see if it did it. Before you take your tape off, the other side, keep the tape on one side over here. And then that way, if it didn't cut all the way through, you can lay the paper back down and cut it again. But if you take the tape off, you're going to never get the genie back in the bottle, right? You'll never get the paper in the right spot. Ooh, I guessed for the blade depth correctly. Okay, that was a blade depth. Let's review. That was a blade depth of 7. Okay. And I guessed correctly, so there we go. So let's show you what those look like. And I could go on and do this all day with cherry cobbler and the different colors. And like here, I did it earlier with cherry cobbler. I made some outlines. I'll show you my projects with that. But let's just look at this one here. Let's look at wishing you the beautiful gifts of Christmas with that paper, with the glimmer on it. Okay, so let's put that on something here. Let's put that on a background so you can see. So now you have glitter. You have glimmer, glitter, shimmer, right? And it's just a cuter little background. And of course, I don't think I would use this one with that one, but I would use black color. I would use the black color instead of the Just Jade, because for the Just Jade, I'm using a Just Jade little background. Now, they are going to be, when you cut out a bunch of these, you're going to notice that the machine recognizes your sticky notes a little bit differently. And so you want to match them up accordingly. So sort of, when you take them off the mat, if you want to match up like which background goes with which foreground, then you can kind of lay them on your table because, like I said, because you cut the sticky notes different in the first place, you're not going to get the same exact size shape. Okay, let's look for some. What I'm looking for now, reaching over, is getting some dimensionals. Just to kind of show you that you need to, if for this to really work, you need to pop up your sentiments with dimensionals so that the backgrounds sort of pop and layer. Oops. These are the mini dimensionals. And you want to pop them up like that. Okay, and then let's just put a piece of something cute here so you can see. Let's put this down here so you have something cute to look at for a moment while I'm doing this. But you see how you can't just put, well, you can, but if you just put white on top of this paper, it kind of drowns. It drowns in the paper because this is soft seafoam. But when you go ahead and you put this white onto a background, then it doesn't drown in there. You have contrast, right? You have contrast. I'm just kind of flipping this around. Oops, oops, okay. Let's center this. There we go. So you see that does a lot better with the, and for this one, since I'm using this glimmer paper, I've already stamped this in black, so I can stamp this in black. I'm going to use 4 of these mini dimensionals on this one because it's glimmer paper. Glimmer paper is harder to stick stuff to. I don't know what happened to that. How come I can't get the end of these off sometimes? Be gone! Stick to there. Okay. Good enough. Good enough. You can see I got stuff everywhere when I'm done crafting. All right, let's see. Do I want dark to light or light to dark? This is some ombre paper from the annual catalog. See what I mean by ombre? I'm going to go with the dark to light. See, I'm going to let the dark side be at the top side of this one. It's a symmetrical shape, so you can do that. So beautiful tags. Here, you can see, well, can you see? You can make beautiful layered tags, and then you could just keep going. So what you would do is you go back into your ScanNCut and you'd say, okay, back, and then you'd say, outline, you change your outline distance again, and you would make it bigger, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so I need to say hi, and I need to explain a couple more things for those of you that want to delve deep. I know a lot of you come to my tutorials a lot, and you might be wondering why I did it this way instead of kind of an easier way, and what the pros and cons are of using the build-in shape. So I just want to kind of cover that. But first, hello, Deborah from New South Wales. Awesome. Hello, Yvonne. Nice to see you again. And Donna and Nola, my faithful friend who's always here. Okay, Denise, hello. Stacy from Indiana. T. Phillips from Colorado. Vanessa, Queensland, Australia. What I'm going to show you now, by the way, guys, is as I show you hi, I'm going to show you something from going to homepage, and I want to show you something about the built-in patterns. And where I left off was Queensland, Australia. And I'm going to try to find a new tool. I'm trying to use a new streaming tool soon, which allows me to sort of let it supposedly, let's say that, allows the comments to pop up on the screen so others can see them and I can read them easier instead of me shaking the camera and having to go back through them. But that's why I don't read comments all the time, because I have to craft, right? So hello, Sherry. Deborah, thanks for your comment. Christine, yes, shreds of paper. You did that your first time, Christine. Okay, so you can relate to my story from the beginning of the video about why we're doing this technique. You can relate. There's a yellow painter's tape. Okay, Kelly's given us a power tip that doesn't stick as hard as the blue. Okay, there's a yellow painter's tape. So we're talking painter's tape that I use for everything. She's saying there's a yellow painter's tape that doesn't stick as hard as the blue. I have tried the purple one. It's like lavender, and it does seem to stick pretty well, but she's saying use the yellow one. Okay, good. And Post-it tape. Amazon has Post-it tape. Yes, many of you guys have given power tips. Thank you, Kelly. Frida, hello, Deborah. What is the least expensive machine to buy that will cut and score lip balm labels? Well, I like this machine the best. It's the CM350. They just don't really sell them anymore. I mean, it's very hard to get unless it's refurbished. But you probably have to get the SDX 125 because it's the industry standard. Let me change this angle. Industry standard means it's the one that they're going to push on you at like, say, when you go to, for example, Amazon. They're going to say that's the one that's available. And it's the one that has the bundles and the packages. So you're going to end up probably with the SDX 125. That's the one that you're probably going to end up with, regardless of the one you want to buy, unless you get some more expensive edition. All right, so I'll go back and say hi to more of you guys later. If you're here, say hi. What I want to teach you is something that you might be wondering in your head, and I know I'd be wondering if I'm watching this. I'd be wondering, Papered Chef, this is what I'd be asking me. If I were you, I'd be asking me, Papered Chef, why don't you just cut out that same shape, this really cool shape? Why don't you just cut out a bunch of them and stamp onto it? Okay, so I want to show you that there is a built-in shape that you could use, and kind of the problem with doing that, but then there's a workaround. Okay, so that you could use, go to pattern, go to this icons here, click here, the icons, and now you're going to go to this one called tags and frames. I don't know if it's called that. I make up my own vocabulary because very little documentation. So I'm just kind of saying that this is called tags and frames. So go to this little part, and it's the built-in shapes, And now you're going to pick the one, go to the next page, and if you want to cut out a bunch of these, click here, AR K016. Okay, so let's go here to this one, and we could do that. It's all the, oh, it's going to shut down. Last time I did this too. My memory is low, but it'll start again and it'll work. Whenever your machine just shuts down and goes kaput like that, it means that your memory is low because of you have a lot of stuff stored on your machine. But it's no biggie. We're going to get, oops, just turn back on and it spit out my thing. We'll just get there quicker. Okay, so there we go. We're going to this pattern, and you're going to go right here to this ARKO16. So now what you can do is you can just make yourself a page of these. So for example, I'm making these for an advent calendar project, which I'll give you a sneak peek of. And I'm thinking I made them 1.5. Let's see, 1.5. Okay, 1.5. Now, you can make a whole page of these. In fact, you can make loads of these. But what you can't do, just so you understand, you can't change the proportions of these. So you can't change the, this is a, see, these are not proportional squares, the ones we made earlier today. That's why I like showing you the method that we just did, because now you have perfect sentiments that are proportional to your sentiment. But when you use these ones, they're almost a square-like, and you can't change the height and width in proportion to each other. So, but you can still make a lot of these. So let's say you wanted 1.5-inch ones, and you wanted for your advent calendar, which is exactly what I'm doing for my advent calendar. I'm actually not even using the ScanNCut for the project, except for just making the tags to put the numbers on. And we need 25 numbers, and you can make a whole bunch of these. So isn't that fantastic? You probably could have fit double that, 50. Or let's see, 4 more rows, maybe not 50. You could probably fit less 1, 49. I bet you could fit 49 on this page, because you see there's 7 columns. So isn't that cool? So you can just use a shape that you want. Then you wouldn't have to stamp your shape, scan it in, find the shape method I just taught you, and cut it out. Just cut yourself a bunch of sentiments, and you're good to go. Okay, so that's one thing. But if we were to use what's called ScanNCut data, then you can change, then you can, that's for another day, but I'm just showing this one here. I can't, because I'm using what's called direct cut. Okay, look at this. Let me just say cut. Okay, you see there's no edit button. You see, remember there was the edit button? It had the little circle and shape in it earlier. You can't edit these. These are from the built-in patterns. Okay, but in ScanNCut data you can edit. So let me zoom back out and kind of now show you some projects. I hope that makes sense, that if you were to just use the built-in shapes for that particular shape that I showed you, you would get almost a square, and you wouldn't be able to get these really cool layered patterns unless you do a different method called ScanNCut data, which is for another day. But that's why I used the direct cut method of scanning a shape around the images and layering them 0.04. Make sure you start with the 0.04. It'll cut too close to the edge of the sentiment otherwise, and 0.08. So now I'm ready to, I'll see if there's any more questions, or I don't even know if that was a question. I made up a question for you guys, because that's what I'd be wondering. Why don't you just make a page of the same? Well, you can make a page of the same. If you know what size you need them ahead of time, just go ahead and cut a page of the same. However, also one more thing about that is then when you go to try to make, these layered, they don't expand in the proper fashion, because we're not using that layer mode like we are here. And you can make them bigger sizes, but just because something's a bigger size doesn't mean it layers in the exact way it's supposed to layer. Okay, so nonetheless, I hope that all makes sense, and I hope you learned a new technique if you haven't tried that one already yet. The machine, I mean, there's just possibilities are endless. You can do so many things with your stamped sentiments. You can connect any sentiment using a sticky note or painter's tape or a pencil trick. But this one you wouldn't use a pencil trick on, because the pencil trick for this one would cause too many pencil marks. But you could use a pencil trick if you're just trying to do something like this. You would just, this is already connected. So you would only need a pencil mark from the M to the C for the Merry Christmas to be connected, because this is already connected and this is already connected. Or unless you want to cut them separately. But do you know what I mean? This one is not like this stamp set I'm showing you. That's why I just wanted to teach you this method today with the sticky notes. But I'll show you this method with a different way. This one, all separate letters. That's why we used the method we did, because these are separate letters, as opposed to a script font that's connected. And like I said, I did a tutorial on that. I just have to get it and link it in the bottom of this video. All right, so Sherry's happy she caught me live. Thank you, Sherry. And the least expensive machine, already answered that question. Mary Ford, quick and easy to make the tags and shaded layers. Kathy saying it's helpful, good. Glimmer, heavier, thicker paper. Yes, it's called ombre something something. Okay, let me see, sometimes I use things and I have to show you what I used. All right, so for this, I'll show you, I'll answer that question, but this one is, I just want to show you this because it's already marked off. This is called Inspired Thoughts. Right now it is $19, but it's going to be 15% off on the October 20th. So this is like the one stamp set that I think everybody has to have in their, well, I don't say have to. I mean, obviously we'll survive without a stamp set, right? Use whatever stamps you want. But this one is, if you're going to get one stamp set from the annual catalog, this is it. Because look how many cards you can make with the one stamp set. Christmas, peace, love, and joy, which works all the time. Sympathy cards, right? It's a birthday, congratulations, a thank you, a hello. I use this tiny hello one all the time. Healing thoughts, get well. And then this one is kind of where it goes with this theme here. Sheltering you with love. Well, here, this goes inside of this one. Here, look, sympathy on the outside. And this one, sheltering you with love at a time when words fall short. So these two would be sympathy. So we have inside and outside sentiments. It's a great sentiment. Now, ombre paper. Okay, you're gonna catch me trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Ombre paper. Accessories index. I think it's called ombre paper. Okay, that you asked about. So let's see. Okay, it's not called ombre paper. Specialty paper, maybe? Specialty paper. Here, let's just try to find it. Okay, sorry for flipping all through things. Paper is back here somewhere, and I should have marked off the paper I was using, but I wasn't sure I was going to actually show you how to cut it. That was kind of a bonus. Okay, we got designer series paper, and then we got, here it is, specialty papers. Here, this is the one I just used. It is called number 4, ombre specialty paper, and it's $10, and it is 4 sheets of gorgeous crepe, mango melody, night of navy, and poppy parade. So night of navy is what's called our neutral color, and I've been putting that on tags. Okay, so that's where I got the ombre paper. So that's when I used the blade depth of 6 or 7, and you can also use this rainbow glimmer paper. I kept calling it rainbow glimmer paper, but interchangeably because it kind of reminds me of it. But you would use the same blade depth for both. So those are some of our specialty papers. Our specialty papers go along with our project so well. I just love it. All right, so yeah, and you don't need to worry about the blade depth for thick paper when you have an SDX 125 because, you know, that's you don't have to worry about it because the auto blade will take care of that. Okay, Donna, you get your tip read here. You get your comment read here because it's so sweet of you. She said she loves all my tips. You certainly are my go-to demonstrator for different ways to use my ScanNCut, and you help me not to get frustrated with my machine. So yeah, I've been there. My other ones, like I said, I'm already frustrated with my SDX. It's on a timeout. But I just move on and grab my other machine. And if you don't have 2 machines, you just got to get a new mat or do whatever you got to do to get through the day. Thank you, Janet from Florida, but on vacation in North Carolina. So thanks for watching me on vacation. Sylvia too. Hello, Dolores. Kathy from Western New York. And Annette from Australia. Michelle from Arkansas. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Hello, Susan, Carmen, Elise. Okay, she likes having her, Mary's saying she likes having her option to change and make your own size sentiment. Yeah, it is really nice. Let's start decorate a couple of these bags while I'm talking. I still have more to show you. So you would get your little bags that I taught you how to make yesterday on the gift giving workshop. You would take them and you would put your milk duds. Here, these 2 Werthers, I saved these 2 Werthers to put in here, okay? Because the Werthers fit in there and I was so ready to eat them, but I didn't. Once you shut them, you don't want to keep opening them, but the other ones do have, I won't open the other ones, but they have milk duds inside, okay? They have milk duds inside. They have Hershey nuggets inside. So then you're going to take your glittered organdy ribbon, which looks like the black one's on its last leg. You could double these up or just use them for 2 different sentiments. I'll probably use them for 2 sentiments. since you can see my black glittered organdy ribbon is right on its last leg. But always cut a couple ribbons at once. It's just easier to cut that way. So there you go. And this is the front of the bag. The back of the bag is where we glued our tear and tape. You're going to fold your ribbon over like that in a loop. And I call that sort of like when you have the breast cancer ribbons and the way you fold that kind of ribbon on a card, where you loop it like that. Okay, so I just loop it through. Or a luggage tag. Okay. So I'm kind of looping it through like that. And then I'm going to close my bag. And the nice thing about glittered organdy ribbon is it has a little bit of a wire to it. There's a little bit of wires in there, like a little bit. And it just stays shut. It doesn't pop open like my other ribbons that I'm like so frustrated with. But this is just, I love glittered organdy ribbon. And then we have our little sentiment. And boom, we have instant cuteness on our little bag without having to do the whole tag thing I showed you yesterday. These were just, I was making so many of these and I decided I need an easier way, which is why I started cutting them this way. And then I was like, I stopped and did, I'm looking for my dimensionals. I stopped and did a tutorial because I was just making so many of these sentiments myself. Always use 2 dimensionals if you're using the mini ones because they pop off. And the reason I'm putting this there, I'm going to put these in all different places, is I didn't want to block Mr. Penguin. But of course, if you want to put it somewhere else, depends on where you're, like here. So this one, I would want to put it down here, do you see? Because here he is, Polar Bear is like patting the head of the snowman. So of course you wouldn't want to block that cute scene, so you'd put him down here, right? You want to put him down there. So just, put it wherever on the bag you're not blocking the cute little pattern. But I did show how to make these same time yesterday. Just go look on my channel. And it's called Giving Gifts Workshop Part 3. And then you put a little, I'm not closing this one yet because I have to, I'm not closing it. I have to put the candy inside. All right, let's show you the projects. Let's make room. I'm going to close my little, oops, my thing came out. I did tell you, okay, so we had, just so back to that, before I put this away. So we had blade depth of 3, for designer series paper like this, blade depth of 4 for basic white cardstock, thin kind, blade depth of 5 when you're doing Stampin' Up cardstocks, like, cardstock, like white, thick cardstock or regular colors, and 7 for that paper that we just cut today. 7 because it's the really thick paper. All right. Let's find all my projects. All right, so here's ones I did earlier, showing you some examples of kind of following up with yesterday. I showed you how to color these little bows using the blending brush, and then I made a vellum snowflake out of a die yesterday. So here's the vellum snowflake I made. I put it on this tag. So here are my milk duds. So here, I'll open one of them so you can see the milk duds because I don't have any other milk duds handy. So the milk duds. Right? That's all you need. Like, imagine, you're at work, right? You're going to work and you want to give everybody a little Halloween treat. Or a Christmas treat. Sorry, we're doing Christmas right now. It can be Halloween, though. Halloween paper. And you want to give someone a little treat. You could put a treat on their desk like that. That's fine. Or you could put a treat in for Christmas, too. Or you could put a treat in this cute little bag. I mean, right? And they can reuse the bag. And it has a cute tag. So it's not the gift. It's the way you wrap the gift. I mean, what do milk duds cost? $0.25 when you buy a bag of candy? I don't know. And then the paper, what's that, $0.25? Here you go, because you're just using a piece of it. And there's the milk dud in there. That's it. But you jazzed it up with your tag. So let's lean these all here so you can see them. These are the ones that we just made. There we go. Here's another one we just made. All right, let me show you a note card. Okay, here's taking the concept that I just showed you. Here's a note card you can make with the same concept. Right, and that's just you're taking your layered sentiment, little snowflake from the Giving Gifts dies, and this is just a little note card. And we sell note cards and envelopes, so I didn't have to do anything. I did have to just fold the card. It came like this. That's it. Slap some designer series paper on it, and you have a fancy little card. And you know, I like note cards because you don't have to write notes as much. You don't have to write as many, you don't have to write long notes. Here's another concept you may have seen on my Ink It Up series here on my channel, where I showed how to use Adorning Designs decorative mask to create tags, and I showed you the finished tags. And so here's what we can do with this one. We can take this one if we want. No, actually I think I'm going to use a Peace, Love, and Joy because I don't want to block that. I'll probably put one right there because I don't want to block my snowflakes I had already put on there. I'll probably put a Peace, Love, and Joy on that one. See how I used the glimmer paper in the background? And I used a balmy blue paper, but this is Night of Navy in the back. And I just used some Night of Navy, and I used the Peace, Love, and Joy. And the tailor-made tags dies. But you can make your own tags out of this. So here's some ready to go. And you see why I'm going to make a whole bucket of crafty goodness to have other projects. Okay, I'll give you a sneak peek of the advent calendar at last, but first I have a couple more projects to show you. And then I'll show you kind of what's coming up on my channel at some point. All right. Thank you, Judy, for your comment. Polly said she just saw me. She's going to watch later. Okay, Polly, come back tomorrow. We'll watch the rerun. Hi, Denise. Oh, good. I'm glad some of you guys are from the same area. Lorna, thanks for your comment. Okay, I can't even get to all these comments. There's so many, which is awesome, you guys. Thank you. So if I miss saying hi to you, hello, Rose, Melody, then next time I'll get to say hi to you, hopefully. But this is called the Tidings of Christmas Designer Series paper. And this is a diaper fold. Look at the size of this sentiment and how it fits right on a diaper fold. You can put a Ghirardelli chocolate in there, or you could put a tea bag in there. So you have a nice little gift. Okay, what else? We have the note card holders that I started this whole video off with. The note card holder is this. And all you do to make this note card holder, which is another tutorial on my channel, just look up note card holder. I showed how to make this out of one piece of Designer Series paper. And in the end, you put note cards in it. Of course, this is not matching. I'm not putting this note card in here, but just to show you. Look, this is a note card holder. So you can fit like 4 or 5 note cards in here. So you're going to give somebody a gift. And I've already given away my other ones. That's why these are empty. I'm just starting to make some more. Okay, so the note cards fit in there. Again, you coordinate. You're going to put the same kind of note cards in there. This was me using Cherry Cobbler in the background. Cherry Cobbler and the Painted Christmas Designer Series paper. So that's a note card holder with some Wink Estella on the little stocking. And again, your sentiment, it's easy to make. And then lastly, how we apply this technique to my little advent calendar project is this. So I made these ones. These are just little treat holders. I used Santa's Workshop. I have this on my blog already, all the dimensions, because I used to make these using Santa's Workshop paper, which is retired now, but I've made a whole advent calendar. So I figured it's time to make an advent calendar. Again, it's just such a simple little fold. You wouldn't believe it, how simple this is. But it just holds a Hershey Nugget, or it holds a Hershey Kiss, Hershey Nugget, some mints, maybe even a miniature, because my husband likes Three Musketeers. I'm thinking of putting a little miniature chocolate in there for him. So you don't need to make an advent calendar, though. You just do exactly what I just did. But instead of making an advent calendar, you're going to make the little treats separately. So here's what I was thinking, and here's my project. Your sneak peek at the project is I took this concept. Remember what I was showing you earlier on the screen? I'm wrapping things up now, guys. Let me just move my screen back. This here, I said I think it was 1.5. Here's my screen. Let me make this go like that. Okay. I said these are 1.5 and you can make 25 of them. I'm pretty sure these are the 1.5 ones I experimented with. So they hold the number, and then you put your treats inside. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna make them all that big to hold the numbers, or make some that are smaller to hold the single digit numbers. And the numbers are they're on clearance, or they were. I don't know if they still are. These are part of the Wonder of Every Season Memories and More card pack. And there were some number stickers in there, and I think there might have even been 2 sheets in there. So I'm going to make my advent calendar like this. I'm going to put the numbers on there. I'm going to stand them up. I may even put the numbers on the other side where the paper's upside down, because one side the paper is right side up, and the other side it's upside down. But it doesn't matter, because I'm not going to use this paper necessarily for my advent calendar. This is just me. I mean, I am, but not necessarily this pattern. It's me just trying to figure out the project right now. And I'm going to put these stickers on these little things, and then I'm going to stick them on all my little treats. And I'm going to have 25 of these. And like I said, I'll load them up later because they're really easy to open and load up later, right? Super easy. But right now they hold a Hershey nugget. So that's all for now. That's how everything kind of ties together. These little shapes that I showed you how to make can be used for labels for numbers. You can cut loads of these out, stamp your sentiments on them afterwards. You can do what we did and scan it in and change it to a shape pattern and just keep on making more layers. 0.04 outline distance, 0.08, and make yourself a big bucket of crafty goodness so you have lots of things to work with this holiday season. That's all for now. This is the Papered Chef. Thank you all for watching today.